Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? This is Vernon Foster from LiveByTheBeat.com, and I got my good brother Shaylom in the house right now. And basically, we just to give you a little background on the site and what we're about. Live by the Beat is a music community dedicated to basically helping DJs, artists, and producers leverage the professional advice from people that have been successful in the music industry, whether it be them sharing their tips and tricks on how to get gigs, whether it be telling you exactly how to go about getting signed, anything of that nature. That's what we're all about here, and just spreading the good vibes across the universe, and really helping artists by mentoring them on what it takes to actually be successful in this business. So today my guest, DJ Shaylom, aka Harris Malberg. This guy has a pretty, in a decent amount of time, maybe even shorter, he's been able to accomplish some pretty cool stuff. More recently, he's opened for artists such as Knife Party, Lucky Date, Dylan Francis, and Anger Demas. And he's also represented the U.S. in the Dub Street DJ Battle, if I'm not correct, which was in San Jose, Puerto Rico, and he took home the title for that. So that's kind of cool. So we're gonna get right into it. Harris, DJ Shaylom, what should I call you? Catman? I don't know what they call you these days.
I don't know. It's either Catman or Moist or Shaylom. I don't know. It's all a mixture of moisture and everything, as I say.
All a mixture of moisture. Cool, man. So what year did you start DJing? Like, when did you get your start?
Well, I started DJing in 2010. The only reason I started late was because I got my license late. I wanted to start in 2009, but not having a car gave me a lot of difficulty. So I guess you can say I started practicing in 2009, but actually made my first performance in 2010.
So that was your 2010 was your first live gig?
Yep.
Okay. And where was that? Like
my first live gig was at a very, very small pub in the college town called Mayagüez. It's in Puerto Rico.
What's
Essentially, Mayagüez.
Okay.
And this bar owner, who was a good friend of mine, she saw what I was doing, and at the time, electronic music in Puerto Rico really hasn't blown up commercially. So she hit me up saying, "Yo, want to give it a try?" And then I was nervous because, I never did a gig. I didn't know if I had fans or not. So that was actually one of the best gigs I had, just because the venue was only we could probably fit 100 people. 60 people went, and they were all my friends, which showed me, wow, at my first gig, 60 friends showed up just to party with me. And that's how it started out. And then that's how my fan base started off with 60 friends. And then they started spreading it out. And that's how I started getting around in Puerto Rico, which in the beginning of 2011, I already had 3 residencies.
Wow, that's pretty impressive considering we're talking a few years here, we're not talking 10, 15, 20 years. So that's pretty impressive. I wanted to ask a little bit, we're talking about your first gig and, how you built up your fans. What about genres of music? Is there a typical selection or genre that you go towards, or you lean more towards, or you're kind of just all over the place? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it's always going to depend on the setting. Like my roots is house music. My specialty is tech house, techno, and deep house. Those are my 3 specialty genres. I know the genres really well, so that's what I'm best at. But all depending on the slot, if I get a headlining spot, I'll incorporate some tech house, but I'll have to go a little bit more progressive, a little bit more electro-y, depending on the scenario. But I will always incorporate my true sound just to, give it my flavor to it. For example, as I say, the future of tech house is going to this new subgenre called booty house. It's a mixture.
Booty.
What was that?
I said booty.
Booty house is a mixture between breaks, house, and future bass. It's still a very experimental genre, but every time when I've been trying to turn it into my sets, I've been getting good response from it, and I do believe that is going to be the future for tech house.
Okay. Cool, I can dig it. Now, we basically brought you on the show today because and what I've seen, the gigs that I've seen you play. I mean, I can personally vouch for this, and I think that you're probably one of, if not the best, one of the greatest opening DJs that I've ever seen perform. Like the way you're able to build the energy in the room and build up to that and kind of hand it off to the next guy. Like a lot of people don't really understand, or DJs don't really understand, one, the importance of that, and two, how to really do it. So that's what I kind of want to dig in on today and kind of dig a little deeper. And I mean, essentially, what is in your definition, what is opening, and why is it important for a DJ to know how to do it properly?
Well, an opening set is obviously when you have a set before somebody's after you, so it's pretty simple. As I preach this all the time, the opening set is the easiest way for you to get recognized by all the important promoters and people in your city. Why? It takes a lot of knowledge to really do a proper opening set. For example, I see people opening the main room of a club and they're playing bangers at 10 o'clock.
No.
In a sense, they're making the fans happy by, okay, well, they're starting off the party really good, but you are not creating a vibe, which makes it harder for the night to progress. The best thing to know is you have to know your role. You're not a superstar. Like, there's DJs, local DJs who think they're the best, they think they're superstars. You really have to know your role, and you got to know what is the job you have to do assigned. So if you're getting an opening set, it all depends on who you're opening up for. For example, if I'm opening up for a progressive or electro house DJ, I'll always go tech house because you can never go wrong with tech house for opening. It sets the mood. Now, like for people who don't know the genre, it's sometimes a challenge. What I do is I'll incorporate like an old school track that's remixed into tech house or a commercial track that's remixed into tech house, and it gets them more movie and jumpy. And then that's how I start creating the room to build it up. And then that's when I can pass it on. They can go harder, and they can, as so on. Really, like when you do an opening set, the fans might not know it or might not appreciate it, but you never know who's watching. And you never know, a big promoter from another company could be there watching you, and they know what you're doing. That's the way you start getting off at different parties, different gigs, bigger shows, because if you do a proper opening set and you know your role, you're going to open up for a lot of national acts just because they could trust you with that important job.
No, I think that's cool. You hit on a couple good points right there. I think one is knowing your role. So essentially what you're saying is that as an opening DJ, you're not the rock star. You're not the one that's supposed to come out there and get the party crazy hype and blow all the energy on the dance floor. You're there to build it, right?
Exactly. You gotta understand, when it's a national act, people are paying to see the national act, not you, which creates this problem that actually I'm going to quote what I saw a post from this the owner of the company HTG, Heavier Than Gravity, Jeff Kenny, wrote on this. Local DJs who cannot properly open a set creates a problem, because then the promoter or the booking agent or manager for the artist will blackmail you, which means you cannot open up for any of their artists, which creates that booking agency to put one of their artists to open up for their national act, which causes more money to be involved, which causes ticket prices to be even higher. So that's why having locals who can properly open up a set creates a better scene, because it'll be a more affordable show for everybody to enjoy.
Okay, cool. One thing I think you said blackmailed. I think you meant blacklisted. Like if they ruin their chance, like if they go and they open and they play hard as hell and they ruin the energy, like that promoter's not going to let them come back and play again, the show. That's what you mean, right? Specifically
for anywhere in Florida, your name is going to appear on the do not book list.
There's a do not book list?
Actually, there is. For if you just play bangers before the artist, the artist has to build the room all over again, and you have that artist to pretty much finish them off, destroy them, and just having to take 25 minutes, half an hour of your set to rebuild the energy. It takes a lot from the artist, and it's not fair to them.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. So, I mean, I think you've pretty much explained, like, and justified, why it's important to know how to do it, and from a standpoint of like getting invited back to play. Take me through kind of like a real world example, like for Lucky Date, which was the Ignition 1 year anniversary, kind of and coincided with the foundation project, the launch of that. Take me through like your process of kind of setting up for that, getting ready. How did you prepare mentally as the night progressed on the dance floor as you're playing? Like, take me through those steps.
Okay. Well, first, what I'm going to do is if I'm opening up for National Act, I'm going to estimate at what BPM they're probably going to play at, which Lucky Day is probably going to play between the range of 128 to 132, more precise. So that's a banger level. So I'm going to start off at 123, 124 BPM because I want to start it off slow. Just like I said, the first hour is for you to create a vibe so people can talk, socialize, and buy drinks just to get that flow going. After I say 20 minutes, I'll bring it up a level like to 124, and just bring it up little by little. Once it's the last 25 minutes of my sets, as I'll consider it, I'll play like banger tech house tracks that won't affect the night. And the best thing that I remember from that night, I played a lot of vocals that were really dirty and seductive. Like it was very tracks like that just created like the girls just to start shaking their booty.
Like I want to make love to you. No.
Well, I'll give it close enough. But the one track that sticks out to my mind is I played a tech house remix of the famous MGMT track called Kids. And when people knew what track it was, they just started like dancing and getting into it. And it's a very tribally tropical vibe to it. Once I threw that track in, I had the dance floor ready. And then I just threw a couple more tracks. And then I was ready to pass it off to a fellow Alliance artist, Kryptonite, which after that, he pretty much killed it and then got the room ready for Alex Wood, who absolutely slayed it. And then Lucky Date went on and just finished them off.
That's cool, man. That's really cool. So you actually kind of, you have like a key, it sounds like you said in there, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have a key like go-to track. Like that
I have
might be a little,
actually.
I'm sorry?
I have a couple go-to tracks. Okay. It's more than one. The reason I played that one was because I actually haven't tried that one out yet, and I knew it was going to work, and it actually did. But I have easily 20 go-to tracks that will elevate the set to the next level of the BPM-wise or the level-wise. I know my tracks by heart. I know which track does what. And, for example, I've had sets where the people I'm playing a little bit too hard and they're not feeling it. So, okay, I have a specific go-to track to bring it down.
Okay.
So you need to know your tracks really good. That way, so you know which track could do what effect.
I got you. Now, you mentioned, I wanna kind of make sure people understand. You saying like, so are you talking about an hour set here? Are you talking about a 2-hour set? Like, what's the time frame? Just so we know where we're coming from with this whole discussion.
Yeah. Usually the sets I'm talking about is between the range of an hour, at most an hour and a half.
Okay. So you're saying the first 20 minutes of your set is kind of chill, laid back, get the vibes flowing in the room, people drinking, kind of conversating, not anything too heavy. And then the latter part of your set, you kind of pick it up with some tech house bangers. And these aren't necessarily like bangers like raging, like fist pumping, like Knife Party, like, well,
this is nowhere near Internet Friends. Internet Friends is not to be touched at all. If you're opening up for somebody, using Internet Friends is like pretty much telling the artist go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy, and that's not a poke at Knife Party because they're great.
Oh, not at all.
Pendulum,
I give them credit for creating such a memorable track, but
you're saying in terms of like a DJ that's opening, they shouldn't play songs like that, and that's what we're trying to like be clear about here.
No, because one, that track elevates everybody's energy level to sky high, and it's cool that you're getting them really pumped and they're loving your set, and you're gonna probably get new fans. but you're taking all the energy that's deserved for the national artist.
Yeah, I think that's the key right there. You're kind of sucking the energy out of the dance floor before it's ready. Like it's like if you ever seen a bell curve, like it seems like most DJs kind of build it up like that, and then it gets to the top, and then like it kind of peaks out, or sometimes they take it back down. It's a progression, right? Like you kind of build it up. It's not just like a straight up and down, like boom boom.
No, it depends. Like there's times when I like to get really creative. I like to create a roller coaster effect just because it's fun for me. Roller coaster effect, what I mean by that is like I'll bring it up, bring it back down, bring it back, like make it very jumpy. And I like confusing people sometimes, but it works. You have to know when to do it. Like the tricky thing to playing tech house to a more like electro dubstep trap kind of crowd, it's a challenge. You really just have to know from experience how to really sell tech house to a more commercial crowd. You know, it's taken me, it actually took me like a year to really fully understand it. After every time I played, I figured out, okay, this style won't work, this doesn't work, this does work. That's how I've been able to build the perfect sets for opening up for national acts.
Okay. That's I think you pretty much covered it, man. One thing that I want to kind of hit on is a lot of times younger DJs or maybe DJs that may have like feel like they've been in the game for a while, like if they're offered an opening slot or something like that, they may not see it as like how do I say this? They may feel like they're entitled to more. Like, can you talk more about that? Because I think a lot of times people don't really understand the opportunity and how they can leverage, like how they can use opening for like someone like Lucky Date, such as yourself, to building their career to be able to get bigger gigs and eventually tour themselves, you know, and have somebody opening for them.
Well, if you're offered an opening slot for a national artist, one, be grateful because not everybody gets that opportunity. Two, you should, like I said, know your role. There's time. For some people who are younger, it's harder for them to understand it. Whenever I see somebody new opening up for a national act who's never done it, I always give my advice. Sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. Now, if they don't take it, that's their problem. It's not mine. I did my part of just trying to share my knowledge. But if you play hard, for example, like if you play too hard, you will get kicked off the decks. They don't give a shit if you're doing a really good set, if you're killing your transitions, if you're doing everything good. They won't care. They'll kick you off the decks, and that pretty much goes your chance of opening up for another national act for a good time or ever.
Yeah, I've seen that happen, and unfortunately, I had to be the one to pull some people off the decks, and it's not fun. Like it's not something that you like. No one wants to be the douche or source, right? Like no one wants to be the douchebag guy, but like that's why it's important that one that I think something that I like that you hit on there is that you said if you see a DJ opening up and it's their first time or they're inexperienced, you'll go up and you'll give them constructive criticism, and a lot of DJs won't do that. So like I commend you on doing that, because a lot of DJs may look at that guy and be like, oh, I'm gonna get his job, you know, like I'm for sure gonna snake my way in there and tell the promoter that this guy sucks so I can get on next time, you know. And you have like a kind of different approach, trying to mentor and educate the opening DJ on what they may not have done right or what they could do better next time they play, which I think is very admirable.
Exactly. And then, for example, like for me, after a lot of successful opening acts, I got like close to headlining spots on bigger stage. Now, the fun part of that is everybody knows me as the tech house guy or the guy who opens up, and nobody knew what I was going to do. Everybody expected me to play tech house, and then people are like, dude, you can't play tech house at 1 o'clock. And just creating the doubt in them, like nobody knew what to expect. And then when they saw me actually, playing harder, nobody could ever think I could play hard. And that night to me, which was the first ignition of the year, it was one of my highlights of like my life, because I worked for so many years to finally get a late slot so people could actually know who I am. And that gig in particular helped me with other companies, just to branch out more and, getting known to be able to play Winter Music Conference, to play the Future Santa Breaks party, which is probably the biggest bass party in the entire United States easily.
So you've essentially kind of leveraged these opening slots for national acts like Dylan Francis and Anger Demas and all these guys like you date to build your career, and using it as a credibility builder to get to bigger shows, and to branch out and to do, bigger acts, and even to the point where you're like essentially the headliner and people are opening for you. Yeah. So I think that's a great strategy. I think now that there's more information out there, like younger, inexperienced DJs can really see like how it could benefit them versus like saying, "Oh man, like I'm way too cool for an opening slot. I should play like later or whatever." Like it's not about that. It's about establishing a presence and building a fan base and showing people that you're consistent at what you do and building a reputation. And from there, people will seek you out. So like, I'm sure people like you're getting hit up by people to play gigs now. Is that correct? Like people, I think the other day we were talking and you're like, yeah, I just got booked out in, Daytona for a show. Like they just hit me up and asked me to play. Like, is that correct?
Yeah. I'm actually playing tonight. I'm going to be playing the Carnage show.
Cool. Dig it, man. And that's a little different, right? That's not tech house. That's trap, right?
Yes, it's actually a trap national act. The reason I was booked for it is just because there was so much trap for the evening. They wanted me to switch up the vibe completely. So pretty much, since I'm doing an 11 to 12 slot, I'm not going to necessarily do tech house. I'm going to go a little bit harder than that just because trap is a really hard genre. So I can go a little bit harder because I know my playing electro or progressive isn't going to affect the flow of the night. But, that's why I'll bring it up to a little bit extra heavier kick to it.
Okay, cool, man. So just to recap kind of what we talked about, as an opening DJ, it's important to know your role. Essentially, you're not there to like, suck all the energy out of the dance floor. You're there to build it up properly for the next guy who's coming for you. You want to start off with a something that's more subtle, something that kind of gets the energy flowing, not anything like heavy, like bangers, like Internet Friends or anything like that. And then also from a standpoint of actually building a career, it's a great opportunity for younger, inexperienced DJs to get on the bill and to build credibility for themselves to get bigger shows, like maybe at conference or like tonight you're playing for Carnage for other national acts. Exactly.
And then one thing I do want to specify, you could open up with any genre. It's not just tech house. Like I said, for every single genre, there is tracks that you can use to open up. Like, for example, Moombahton. Moombahton is usually a harder, a really upbeat, get crazy genre. Well, there's a subgenre of it called Moomba Soul, which is, for me, honestly, is the best opening music for any night. Moomba Soul is the best thing to use to open up a night because it has that vibe, you're vibing to it, but it's not slaying you either. I mean, electro house and progressive house and dubstep, you can open up with them. There's specific tracks that you can use that's not going to affect the night. You just need to really dig for them. Like, they're harder to find, but essentially it's not just opening with tech house. You can open with any genre. You just have to know which track is, suitable for the night.
Absolutely. Now, just like a few pointers on, where maybe an opening DJ should look for, if let's say I got booked for Lucky Date, like where should is there any particular places where you'd suggest to look for music? Any artists that you're kind of feeling right now, like you're really digging their stuff that you'd suggest? Anything like that?
One thing I definitely recommend is if you're opening up for a national act you never heard of, definitely do the research. One thing I always recommend, never play any of their tracks.
Oh yeah, that's key.
That's very key.
That'll piss a lot. That's the quickest way to piss somebody off.
What I do is I'll watch two to three of their actual sets that they put up on SoundCloud or YouTube to know more or less what tracks they use repetitively. And if for example, let's say out of 3 videos, they'll play for example, I'm going to use this song as an example. They're playing Flossodamus's Piss Test, and that's one of their songs.
Mm-hmm.
If he used that in 2 or 3 of the recorded mixes, I will not even consider putting that because it's more likely they're going to play that night. So I don't want to be a slap in the face and having him to take off that song. So more or less, I'll take a look at what they're playing and just to know not to put it in the set.
Okay. So you do your initial research on the artist. That's interesting because I don't think I'm not sure that a lot of artists would do that. Obviously you're a top caliber guy. You've been doing this for a little bit and you take your craft seriously, but I think that's an interesting point, especially like with the new media and stuff that's out there now. Like you can basically look at these guys on Twitter and everything's transparent, whereas 5 or 10 years ago it wasn't like that. So you have more accessibility to the artist. You can kind of see, like you were saying, YouTube. You can do your initial research. Now, what about any like recommendations as far as like music? Like, would you suggest like Beatport, iTunes, like anything like that?
Yeah, really, Beatport, iTunes, or whatever. Beatport, iTunes, SoundCloud. SoundCloud's a very big key because one, they might upload their bootlegs, and more or less you can know. For example, let's say if I had a remix to Fede Legrand's Everything But the Girl. Mm-hmm. It's a completely different remix than what Lucky Day has. I'm not saying Lucky Day has a bootleg to it, but for example, if he had his own bootleg to that song, I won't even play the Fede Legrand remix or anything like that, just because at least for me as a fan, hearing a song played more than once at an event kind of just brings me down.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's kind of overdoing it, like one track too many.
Exactly. I'll never forget the time I didn't play this event, but I ended up going to Flossodamus at Ignition. I swore I heard the original Dawn like 20 times.
And that's their track, right? That's
Flossodamus' track, and I heard it 20 times probably before they even threw it in.
That's what you do. That's a prime example, ladies and gentlemen, kids, boys, and girls, of what you do not do. Well, that's pretty cool, man. I want to thank you for your time. LiveByTheBeat.com. This was a great interview. The Art of Opening with my man, none other than DJ Shaylom, a.k.a. Harris Malberg. Anybody you want to give a shout out to or anything like that before we end the call?
Definitely want to give out the shout out to the whole city of Orlando. They're supporting what I'm doing. All my friends back hometown Puerto Rico supporting me. I want to thank Alliance Events and Nightlife for really helping me, giving me the opportunity to even develop into what I've been able to accomplish today. And most importantly, I want to thank all them cats out there. Without them cats, there's no fluffiness. Those cats are damn important.
No fluffiness?
No, hey man, those cats make a world different. Those cats are the shiznit. So I want to thank all them kitty cats out there.
And you're referring to like actual cats, not like dogs or like people.
No, I'm actually referring to as the whiskered animal, the 4-legged animal that destroys carpet and destroys your furniture. No ratchet, no hose, no vaginas, no pussies, none of that. Actual cats.
I'm gonna have to edit that out. Just so you guys know, Harris is like a cat aficionado. Like I think the only other person that I see more cat stuff from is like Dylan Francis. If you guys are probably like on par with each other. But yeah, man, that's cool. I want to thank you for your time again, and we'll catch you on the flip side, brother.
For sure, man. Thank you for interviewing me, and hope to see you soon.
All right, see you, man.